I gotta say, Shakespeare's The Taming of the Shrew, it is a comedy, but it is also sort of like a tragedy. It's a tragic comedy. There is a lot I can talk about this book. I can rant a lot about this play as well, but it's probably not sometimes worth it. The Taming of the Shrew. Sorry about the backwards title. It's pretty impressive in my regards of 10 out of 10 Shakespeare points, mainly because it is talking about feminism. It's like a little funhouse mirror. You know, when you go to like those places with the funhouse mirrors, you look at yourself, but you're like distorted, something like that. Well, that's not always what happens. In fact, this is pretty much how it all happens as well too. Shakespeare's The Taming of the Shrew, it's a little something for us modern people to go ahead and see something from the olden days. We see something and we experience something from the olden days, so we can see them again and we experience them again and we can do things again. Speaking of doing things again, there is actually a lot that we can do about this as well too. We can read this book and then find about the feminism of the time, and of course this is Shakespearean times, which is in the 16th century, when feminist rights still haven't even been considered too vigorously by everyone yet. However, Shakespeare himself, this play, although it might still seem a little sexist, it's still kind of radical for the time as well too. Before then, there were hundreds and hundreds of books about men dominating over women's lives, all the way dating even back to the Canterbury Tales. But this one, we instead of physical abuse, that was frowned upon during Elizabethan times. We see someone trying to dominate over women, but in a different way, trying to show them that we're equals. But I'm greater than equal to you. So what we get from this is that we get a lot. We can learn a lot from this as well too. Here, instead of physical torture, we get psychological torture, which is exactly what FBI do nowadays. The FBI do a bunch of interrogation techniques whenever they have a little victim. And with that victim, they decide to go ahead and do something really horrible towards them. They don't give them food, they don't give them sleep, they don't let them do anything at all. They subject them to torture until they break and tell them something. And if they don't break, well, they're eliminated. That's very horrifying as well too, but there is only so much that we can do here. So what's the thing that we can do about this entire world as well too? Inside the Taming of the Shrew, we can learn a lot about ourselves. We can learn a lot about how we do things, how we revolutionize things. There is only so much that we can do here, but the only things that we can do, well, it's sort of the feminist thing too. Shakespeare himself might seem a little sexist as well too. However, there is this one scene that I mentioned. It's called the induction scene. I made a summary of that, but it's rarely played anymore. This is rarely played part. It's most likely taken out because it doesn't add much to the entire plot. But it's called the induction scene, where there's this little old lord who decides to play a prank on this little drunkard about watching the Taming of the Shrew, because he thinks it's the exact same thing that some little Yankee yodel would like to enjoy. But however, what is the point of this play anyway? It's not just to talk about gender roles. Gender roles weren't even discussed in Shakespearean times. And to see this as literal comedy, to see someone being psychologically tortured into thinking that the sun is the moon, that to be a comedy, that seems a little messed up in today's terms. But back then, that may have been one of the best things that could ever get you there too. It's also kind of revolutionary because this is one of the first plays that introduced a man not physically abusing their spouse, when that was the whole action of the play. But the whole thing about this play itself, we learn from it. We learn about the gender roles. It hasn't aged well. In fact, it's still one of his best comedies. However, it hasn't aged well into today's society. But that's what makes it actually good. What makes this a really good and impressive play to really read about is so that we can do something about it. We can do something about the gender roles from today's world. And there is a lot that we can do about this play too. What can we do about this, though? That's a problem for another time. When you're taming a woman, taming a shrew in this case, there's always something you can do. Falcon trainers, tame wild falcons by not feeding them, by starving them, and by making sure that they don't sleep at all for a while until they're starting to be obedient. Here, we do that, but put that to the tames of a woman. In this, we get a person, not an animal. It's like they're treating women like animals. That really sounds bad out of context, but here, there is something that we can do about it. This shows us that there is a lot that we can still improve in our society. Women cannot be treated like animals, sure. Women are human beings like us. But this play is basically saying they cannot be trusted as well too, but they're also really easily manipulated. Then again, William Shakespeare might not have bought into all this stuff anyway. What can we do about it? What can we do about it nowadays? We can do a lot. There's this feminist movement, and there are a lot of women in powerful positions around the world. Elizabethan England does have its downsides, but then again, we see this as a comedy, not because of the relationship between Kate and Petruchio, but mainly because of the relationship between Bianca and Lucentio and her bunch of other suitors as well too. So what can we learn from Taming the Shrew, other than making variations of it to make sure it fits into today's modern world? We can do so much more about it. We can learn about how things were like in the past, and how we are still stuck in the past. How much we are still stuck in the past. That's what I meant. But in the end, we might realize that there is a darker side of us. And this Taming of the Shrew, it's a mirror, showing us our face. Everything. Warts, ugliness, and all. So, I hope you guys enjoyed my review of Taming of the Shrew. You should read it, so that you can see a mirror of yourself. So go read it. I'll see you guys soon. Until next time, Chanel, peace. Bye-bye.